Our daughter has become completely spoiled due to my husband's indulgence. As I was fretting over this, I overheard my daughter and husband speaking ill of me. Angrily, I confronted them, and my husband James just laughed.
You heard her, right? She says she hates you.
Then my daughter Angelica chimed in.
Yeah, that's right. I hate you, Mommy. Go away, you mean witch.
You shouldn't talk like that. Meanwhile, James just shrugged and said to her,
There she goes again. Mom's always nagging, huh?
I can't stand having her as a mom. I wish it was just you and me, Daddy.
That was my breaking point. I wondered if there was any point in staying a family after being spoken to like that. I didn't care what happened anymore. I managed to smile and said, All right then, the scary mom will disappear. Please stay tuned for the turbulent story that unfolds next. My name is Kate, a 35-year-old working mother, balancing child rearing and my career as a tax accountant, currently employed at a local firm. My husband James and I met 7 years ago at a so-called matching party. He was quite popular there, being tall, handsome, and having a decent job. I never thought I stood a chance, but to my surprise, he approached me at the end of the party.
You're a tax accountant, right, Kate? I've always thought if I got married, I'd want a reliable woman. Would you like to go out for dinner sometime?
I agreed, surprised but pleased. That's how my relationship with James began, leading to a proposal after a year. By then, he had become irreplaceable to me. We visited his parents' home far away, and they were kind and welcoming. Next, we went to my parents' house.
Wow, Kate, you snagged such a handsome guy.
Go ahead and marry him. My mother was a career woman, and my father was gentle and calm. With their blessing, we got married. After the wedding, we rented a place equidistant from our workplaces. However, James hardly did any housework after we got married. Even when I asked for help, he'd say,
You can handle it, Kate,
and wouldn't lift a finger. I was frustrated, but ended up doing all the housework while working full-time. Soon, I got pregnant. He was overjoyed.
Yes. Will it be a boy or a girl? I hope it's a girl. She'll definitely be cute because she's my daughter.
You're getting ahead of yourself, James. I'm going to need a lot of support with the baby coming.
Leave it to me.
But during my pregnancy, he never took over the housework. He did, however, like to show off, accompanying me to prenatal checkups and parenting classes, making a good impression on my parents. I was frustrated by his superficial charm. Eventually, our daughter Angelica was born. But he didn't help with childcare, as expected. To be exact, he does take care of her.
Oh, you're so cute. My sweet Angelica.
He only played with her when she was in a good mood. He left the essential tasks, like making milk or changing diapers, to me. On top of that, he would upload photos on social media to appear like he was actively involved in parenting. I was frustrated with him for only wanting to take the good parts of parenting. Time flew, and Angelica was already 5 years old. I had been extremely busy with work for the past 2 years, often leaving childcare to him. But that meant I woke up early to do all the housework and prepare dinner, storing it in the fridge. He would pick her up from daycare in the evening, feed her the dinner I prepared, and look after her until bedtime. However, he never did any housework during this time. Most nights, I got home just before 9 p.m., after she was already asleep. As she grew older, he became increasingly harsh towards me, and our relationship became more distant. He even started bad-mouthing me to Angelica. One night, I got home at 9 p.m. and found Angelica still awake, playing on her tablet. "You're still up? It's way past your bedtime." James, meanwhile, was lying on the sofa, absorbed in his phone, ignoring her. "James, didn't I ask you to put her to bed by 8:30?
The nag is back.
Looking at the dining table, I saw the dinner I had made for her. She had eaten only the chicken and bread, leaving all the vegetables untouched. "What's this? Angelica, you haven't eaten any vegetables." Angelica, still focused on her tablet, replied,
"But I don't like veggies."
I knelt down in front of her and said, "Listen, Angelica. To grow up healthy, you need to eat veggies without being picky. Let's make sure you eat them from now on."
"No."
James then interjected.
What's the big deal? Let her eat what she likes, right, Angelica?
"Yeah, Daddy. I only want candy and meat."
"James, that's not helping her."
Ugh, scary mom alert. Angelica, let's ignore her and go to bed with Daddy.
"Yeah, I'll sleep with Daddy. I love Daddy."
With that, he carried her off to the bedroom. I started cleaning up and began the housework, my body tired. He always coddled her, but never touched the important aspects of discipline and education. Yet on social media, he posted things like,
Daddy's girl loves me and I love her too.
She was completely spoiled by him, showing me no respect. Whenever I tried to discipline her, she would sulk immediately. My job only got busier, and I had to leave her with him more often on weekends. He took her to game arcades and out for meals, further spoiling her. She became increasingly defiant, even towards me. I knew I had to do something about this. Then, an incident occurred. I returned home about an hour earlier than usual and heard them talking in the living room.
Hey, Angelica, do you love me?
"Yeah, I love you, Daddy. You're nice and let me play lots of games. You even buy me candy."
That's right. I love you, so I'm nice to you. What do you think of Mommy?
"Ew, I don't like Mommy. She always gets angry and is a mean witch."
Ah, you remember the words I taught you. Mommy is mean to you because she doesn't like you. That's why she's mean to you.
I couldn't take it anymore and stormed into the room. James, what are you telling Angelica?
Oh, you were home.
James, surprised at first, then smirked.
You heard her, right? Angelica says she hates you.
Then Angelica joined in.
"That's right. I hate you, Mommy. Go away, you mean witch."
Angelica, you can't talk like that to me. I said this angrily, and James just shrugged and told her.
Oh, there she goes again, nagging.
"I can't stand having her as a mom. I wish it was just you and me, Daddy."
That's when I reached my limit. So, is there even a point in staying a family if it's come to this? I don't care anymore. I contained my anger and managed a smile. Understood. The scary mom will disappear. James's eyes widened, perhaps thinking I would beg to stay.
Hey, Kate.
Ignoring him, I started packing my bags. Then, Angelica, with a bright face, said,
Yay! The mean witch is leaving? That's great, Daddy. Now, you can live with Betty.
Excuse me?
Hey, Angelica.
He suddenly flustered, but I heard what she had said. Betty? What are you talking about?
It's nothing. Must be a misunderstanding.
What are you saying, Daddy? I love Betty. She buys me games and is super nice.
At that moment, I realized the whole truth. James, are you having an affair? And you even introduced her to Angelica. He, finally admitting it, said,
Yeah, that's right. She's younger and prettier than you.
Call this Betty here, right now.
Fine, but it'll just make you feel worse.
A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. A young, slim woman was standing there. So, you're James's mistress. What are you thinking even meeting my daughter? She snickered arrogantly.
Just as James said, a short-tempered old lady.
Excuse me? James then put his arm around Betty, with Angelica clinging to her leg.
Betty is a much better woman than you.
Don't bully her.
Feeling everything was ridiculous, I suppressed my anger and said, Fine. As I said, I'm leaving. But I will demand a fair settlement for your infidelity. I'll leave Angelica's custody to you. She seems to prefer you, anyway. He smugly said,
Betty can have kids, so she'll dote on Angelica. And don't worry about the settlement. Her family owns a company. She's the executive vice president, so they're wealthy.
That's right, ma'am. Thanks for handing over James and Angelica. But please make sure to pay child support. We won't allow visits, though.
They said this with an air of smugness. Ignoring the smirking pair, I crouched in front of Angelica. Are you really okay with this, Angelica? You won't see me anymore.
I told you I'm fine. Just go away, Mommy.
She said this while turning away. I stood up, grabbed my bags, and left the house. Then I went back to my parents' house. They were furious about what James had done. After they had vented their anger, my mother asked me, But are you really okay with leaving Angelica? It's fine. Just watch, Mom. Then I smiled slyly. A month after I left the house, James called me several times, but I ignored all his calls. I continued to ignore him for about a week. One day, after finishing work, I found him and Betty waiting for me. What do you want? I believe we have nothing to do with each other anymore.
I want to talk. Please, give me a little time.
Please, ma'am. I'm asking you to.
Reluctantly, we moved to a nearby cafe. Suddenly, James yelled at me desperately.
Kate, please, I'm begging you, cancel the alimony claim.
Why should I?
Well, there are complications.
Like your parents finding out about your affair and disowning you, and getting kicked out of the company?
Huh? How do you know about that?
They stare at me dumbfounded, and I told them. Because I was the one who told her parents about your deeds.
What?
Unbeknownst to them, I was the accountant for her parents' company. I knew her parents were strict and hated dishonesty. So I went to them and reported everything about James and Betty. They believed Betty's lie that I was dead and were furious. They disowned her and promised to kick her out of the company.
It's all your fault we're in this mess.
She was almost in tears as she lashed out at me. I retorted, Then maybe you shouldn't have done anything shameful. And don't forget you both owe me $20,000 in alimony. Seeing my stern response, James finally broke down.
But we can't afford that. I quit my job to be a stay-at-home dad.
That's not my problem. By the way, where's Angelica today?
We left her with a babysitter.
He looked away as he said this, and then she burst out.
What's up with her? She doesn't listen, gets in trouble at daycare, and talks back when scolded. How did you raise her?
Well, maybe ask the man right there. I pointed at James with my chin, and he looked uncomfortable.
This isn't the family life I envisioned. Please, just spare us the alimony.
Yeah, Kate. You can afford it, right? Please. I'm begging you.
That's when I finally snapped. Everything is your own doing, you jerks. I'll make sure to collect that alimony, even if it means going to court. Be prepared. Well, I wish you 3 happiness. I'm disappearing from your lives forever. Goodbye. With that, I left the cafe, leaving them in despair. Afterward, James and Betty got into a huge mess over the alimony and eventually broke up. James was disowned by his family and now works day and night to repay the debt he incurred for the alimony. Betty tried to return to her parents, but they refused to take her back. Now she's working in the nightlife industry, a far cry from her previous life as a lady. As for Angelica, James eventually came to me, admitting he couldn't raise her alone. In the end, I took her back. When she saw me again after a long time, she cried.
Mommy, I'm sorry. I missed your cooking.
I hugged her and took her back to my parents' house. At first, it was hard to break her spoiled habits, but my mother and I patiently worked with her, explaining why certain behaviors were wrong. I cut back on work to spend more time with my daughter. Gradually, she became more polite and started living a more disciplined life. Now, she's a complete mommy's girl and clings to me. I can't help but adore her. After all, she's my daughter. Moving forward, I plan to raise her without spoiling her too much, but still shower her with love and care.